First contact. The gleaming corridors of Starbase Nexus hummed with activity as beings from across the galaxy bustled about their daily routines. Among them, a slender figure glided silently through the crowds, her iridescent blue skin shimmering under the station's artificial lights. Zira, a member of the luminous species, moved with practiced efficiency as she went about her cleaning duties. The Lumina had been recruited to serve as maintenance staff on the newly established interspecies space station due to their meticulous nature and ability to access tight spaces. Zira took pride in her work, ensuring every surface sparkled and every system ran smoothly. Yet, as she made her rounds, she couldn't help but feel a growing sense of curiosity about the station's newest arrivals, the humans. Humans were a relatively recent addition to the galactic community, and Starbase Nexus was one of the first truly integrated facilities where they would be living and working alongside other species. Zira had heard whispers and rumors about these strange bipeds, but she had yet to encounter one up close. As she turned a corner, her large, luminous eyes widened in surprise. There, just a few meters away, stood a human. He was tall, with a sturdy build that seemed at odds with the lithe forms of most species Zira was familiar with. His skin was a warm brown, and dark, curly hair framed a face that seemed to be in constant motion, expressions changing rapidly as he spoke to a colleague. Zira found herself transfixed, her cleaning routine momentarily forgotten as she observed this fascinating creature. The human's voice carried down the corridor, deep and resonant, so different from the musical tones of her own people. She inched closer, driven by an insatiable curiosity. The human, she would later learn his name was Alex, was gesticulating animatedly as he explained something to his alien companion. Zira marveled at the dexterity of his hands, the way his fingers moved with such precision. Her own three-fingered hands suddenly felt clumsy in comparison. As she watched, Alex pulled out a small device and began manipulating it with swift, sure movements. Zira's antennae quivered with interest. The ease with which he interfaced with the technology was impressive. While many species relied on neural interfaces or other advanced systems, the human seemed perfectly content with this manual approach. Suddenly, Alex looked up, his eyes meeting Zira's. She froze, caught in the act of her unabashed observation. To her surprise, the human's face broke into a wide smile. The expression was so open, so unguarded, that Zira felt a strange flutter in her chest. "Hello there," Alex called out, his voice friendly and curious. "I don't think we've met. I'm Alex, one of the new engineers on board." Zira hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Her species was known for their reserved nature, and direct interaction with other races wasn't typically part of her duties. But something about the human's warm demeanor drew her in. "Greetings," she replied softly, her voice a gentle melody. "I am Zira, of the maintenance crew." Alex's eyes lit up with interest. "Zira, what a beautiful name. I've been hoping to meet more of the station's crew. Would you mind if I asked you a few questions? I'm still learning about all the different species here." Zira felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was against protocol, but the opportunity to learn more about humans was too tempting to pass up. "I suppose that would be acceptable," she said cautiously. As Alex began to ask her about her work and her species, Zira found herself relaxing. The human's genuine interest and respectful curiosity put her at ease. She learned that Alex was part of a team working on integrating human technology with the station's existing systems, a challenging task given the vast differences in approach. "It's fascinating, really," Alex explained, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "The way different species approach problem-solving can be so varied, but that's what makes collaboration so exciting. We all have something unique to bring to the table." Zira nodded, finding herself drawn in by his passion. Indeed, the diversity of approaches is intriguing. She hesitated, then added, "I must admit, I find human technology quite interesting. It seems different from what I am accustomed to." Alex grinned. "Oh, it is. We're still playing catch-up in many ways, but we've got a few tricks up our sleeves. Would you like to see something cool? Before Zira could respond, Alex pulled out another device, this one slightly larger than the first. With a few quick movements, a holographic display sprang to life between them. Zira gasped softly, her antennae twitching in surprise. "This is a portable holoprojector we've been working on," Alex explained, manipulating the image with his hands. "It's designed to interface with multiple systems and provide real-time data visualization. We're hoping it'll help bridge some of the communication gaps between different species tech." Zira watched in fascination as Alex demonstrated the device's capabilities. The way he interacted with the technology was so intuitive, so natural. It was a stark contrast to the neural interfaces her own people used, which often felt cold and impersonal in comparison. As their impromptu meetings stretched on, Zira became increasingly aware of the time. She had duties to attend to, and lingering like this was highly irregular. Yet she found herself reluctant to leave, captivated by Alex's infectious enthusiasm and the wealth of new information he provided. I should return to my tasks," she said finally, a note of regret in her melodic voice. Alex's face fell slightly, but his smile remained warm. "Of course, I didn't mean to keep you. Thank you for taking the time to chat, Zira. I've learned so much. Would it be all right if we talked again sometime? I'd love to hear more about your perspective on the station." Zira hesitated, knowing she should refuse. Fraternization between crew members of different stations was discouraged, especially given her role. But the prospect of further conversations with this intriguing human was too tempting to resist. "I would like that," she said softly, her luminous eyes meeting Alex's. As she glided away to resume her duties, Zira's mind whirled with new ideas and questions. The encounter had awakened something within her, a thirst for knowledge, a desire to understand these strange new humans and their ways. Little did she know, this chance meeting would set in motion a series of events that would change not only her life, but the very nature of interspecies relations on Starbase Nexus. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity for Zira. She found herself paying closer attention to the humans she encountered during her rounds, noting their mannerisms, their interactions with technology, and their seemingly boundless energy. Each observation only fueled her growing fascination. Despite her best efforts to focus on her duties, Zira's thoughts often drifted to Alex and their brief but impactful conversation. She found herself looking forward to their next encounter, even as she chided herself for such unprofessional thoughts. As fate would have it, she didn't have to wait long. A week after their first meeting, Zira was assigned to clean the engineering section where Alex worked. Her heart raced with anticipation as she entered the bustling workspace, her eyes scanning the room for the now familiar figure. She spotted him hunched over a console, his brow furrowed in concentration. Without thinking, Zira drifted closer, her cleaning forgotten as she observed Alex at work. His fingers flew over the controls with a speed and precision that left her in awe. Suddenly, Alex looked up, his face breaking into a wide grin as he recognized her. "Zira, it's great to see you again," he explained, waving her over. Zira approached cautiously, aware of the curious glances from other crew members. "Greetings, Alex," she said softly. "I hope I am not interrupting your work." "Not at all," Alex assured her. "In fact, your timing is perfect. I could use a fresh perspective on something. Would you mind taking a look?" Before she could protest, Zira found herself drawn into a lively discussion about the station's environmental systems. Alex explained the challenges they were facing in integrating human atmospheric preferences with those of other species, and Zira found herself offering insights based on her extensive knowledge of the station's inner workings. As they talked, Zira became increasingly aware of how different this interaction was from her usual experiences. The humans around her spoke freely, exchanging ideas and challenging each other's assumptions in a way that was both exhilarating and slightly overwhelming. "You know, Zira," Alex said thoughtfully as their conversation wound down, "you have a real knack for this. Have you ever considered pursuing engineering yourself? Zero blinked in surprise, her antennae quivering. That is not typically a path open to my kind, she admitted. We are assigned our roles based on our natural aptitudes. Alex frowned slightly. But surely if you have an interest and the ability, you should be able to explore that, right? The question struck Zira deeply. She had never considered the possibility of deviating from her assigned role. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. As she left the engineering bay that day, Zira's mind was whirl with new possibilities. Her interactions with Alex and the other humans were beginning to challenge her long-held beliefs about her place in the universe. It was unsettling, yet oddly liberating. Over the next few weeks, Zira found herself seeking out opportunities to learn more about human culture and technology. She began spending her free time in the station's library, poring over texts on human history and scientific achievements. The more she learned, the more she marveled at the resilience and creativity of this young species. Her growing knowledge didn't go unnoticed. During one of her now regular conversations with Alex, she surprised him with her understanding of a complex engineering principle. "Zira, that's incredible," Alex exclaimed. "You've really been studying, haven't you?" Zira ducked her head, embarrassed but pleased by the praise. "I find human approaches to problem-solving fascinating," she admitted. "Your species seems to thrive on challenges." Alex nodded enthusiastically. "That's one way to put it. We've had to learn to adapt and innovate to survive. It's kind of baked into our DNA at this point." As they continued to talk, Zira found herself opening up more about her own species and culture. She explained the hierarchical structure of lunar society, the emphasis on harmony and predetermined roles. Alex listened intently, his expression thoughtful. "It sounds very stable," he said diplomatically, "but doesn't it ever feel limiting?" The question hit Zira like a bolt of electricity. She had been grappling with similar thoughts lately, but hearing it voiced aloud was jarring. I have never considered it in those terms," she said slowly. "Our way has served us well for millennia." Alex held up his hands apologetically. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. It's just, from a human perspective, the idea of being locked into a single role for life seems restrictive." Zira nodded, her mind racing. "I understand. Your ways are very different from ours. It is giving me much to think about." As she left Alex that day, Zira felt a sense of unease settling over her. Her conversations with the human were beginning to shake the very foundations of her worldview. She was starting to question things she had always taken for granted, and the implications were both exciting and terrifying. Little did she know, these seeds of change were about to face their greatest test. As Zira's understanding of human culture grew, so too did the tensions between the various species aboard Starbase Nexus. The delicate balance of the interstellar community was about to be put to the test, and Zira would find herself at the very heart of the coming storm. Cultural clashes. The bustling corridors of Starbase Nexus buzzed with an undercurrent of tension. As more species integrated into the station's daily life, cultural misunderstandings became increasingly common. At the heart of many of these conflicts were the humans, whose direct communication style and insatiable curiosity often rubbed other species the wrong way. Zira found herself in a unique position, straddling the line between her traditional lunar role and her growing fascination with human culture. Her friendship with Alex had opened her eyes to new possibilities, but it had also made her acutely aware of the widening rift between different factions on the station. One day, as Zira was performing maintenance in the hydroponics bay, she overheard a heated argument between a human botanist and a Tsarlian horticulturist. The dispute centered around the introduction of a new Earth plant species into the station's ecosystem. "You don't understand the potential benefits," the human exclaimed, her voice rising with passion. "This plant could revolutionize our oxygen recycling system." The Tsarlian's tentacles writhed in agitation. "And you fail to grasp the delicate balance we've established here. Your Earth flora could disrupt everything we've worked for cycles to achieve." Zira watched the exchange with growing concern. She understood both perspectives, the humans' drive for innovation and the aliens' cautious approach to change. Without thinking, she stepped forward, her melodious voice cutting through the tension. "Perhaps there is a way to satisfy both concerns," she suggested softly. All eyes turned to her, surprise evident on both alien and human faces. Zira's antennae quivered nervously, but she pressed on. "What if we were to create a contained environment to test the Earth plant's effects before introducing it to the larger ecosystem?" The human's eyes lit up with excitement, while the alien's tentacles relaxed slightly. "That could work," the alien admitted reluctantly. As Zira helped them hash out the details of the compromise, she felt a sense of accomplishment. Her unique perspective, informed by both her lunar heritage and her new understanding of human thinking, had bridged a gap between two vastly different approaches. Word of Zira's diplomatic intervention spread quickly through the station. Soon, she found herself being called upon more frequently to mediate disputes between humans and other species. It was a role she never expected to fill, and one that both exhilarated and terrified her. Alex was thrilled by Zira's growing influence. "You're making a real difference here," he told her one day as they shared a meal in the station's diverse cafeteria. "You're helping everyone understand each other better." Zira ducked her head modestly, her skin flushing a deeper blue. "I am simply trying to maintain harmony," she said softly. "It is the Lumina way." Alex grinned. "Maybe, but you're doing it in a very un-Lumina way. You're adapting, innovating. It's incredible to watch." As they continued their meal, Zira became aware of the stares and whispers from those around them. Humans and aliens alike were taking note of their friendship, and not everyone seemed pleased by it. Later that week, Zira was confronted by her Lumina supervisor, Vexina. The older Lumina's disapproval was evident in the stiff set of her antennae. "Your behavior has become erratic, Zira," Vexina said, her tone cold. "You are straying from your assigned duties, involving yourself in matters that do not concern our kind." Zira felt a flash of defiance, an emotion she had never experienced before her exposure to humans. "I am still performing my duties," she argued gently. "But I am also helping to foster better understanding between species. Is that not a worthy goal?" Vexina's eyes narrowed. "It is not our place to interfere in the affairs of others. You would do well to remember your station." The reprimand stung, but it also strengthened Zira's resolve. She realized that she could no longer simply accept the limitations placed upon her by her society. The humans had shown her that there were other ways to live, to contribute, to grow. As tensions on the station continued to escalate, Zira found herself at the center of a growing movement. Younger members of various species, inspired by human ideals of individual freedom and self-determination, began to question their traditional roles. Zira organized informal gatherings where individuals from different species could meet, share ideas, and learn from one another. These cultural exchange sessions quickly became popular, drawing participants from all corners of the station. During one such gathering, a young Trekari engineer named Zax approached Zira, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with excitement. "Your friendship with the human, Alex, it has changed you," he observed. "You seem more alive." Zira considered his words carefully. "I suppose it has," she admitted. "Humans have a unique way of looking at the universe. They challenge assumptions, push boundaries. It can be unsettling, but also invigorating." Zax nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, that's exactly it. I've been studying their engineering techniques, and they're so different from anything I've seen before. It's like they take joy in finding unconventional solutions." As their conversation continued, Zira realized that she wasn't alone in her fascination with humans. Many of the younger aliens on the station were drawn to human culture, eager to explore new ideas and ways of thinking. However, this cultural shift was not without its opponents. Conservative factions within each species viewed the growing human influence with alarm. They saw it as a threat to their traditional ways of life, a corrupting force that needed to be contained. Rumors began to circulate about a plot to sabotage the station's human quarter to force the newcomers to leave. Zira, with her unique position bridging multiple communities, caught wind of these whispers and knew she had to act. She brought her concerns to Alex, who listened with growing alarm. "This is serious, Zira," he said, running a hand through his curly hair. "If someone really is planning to attack the human quarter, it could spark an interspecies conflict. We need to find a way to stop this before it starts." Zira nodded, her resolve strengthening. "We must bring this to the attention of the station's council," she said, "but we'll need proof. They won't act on rumors alone." Together, Zira and Alex began a covert investigation, leveraging their connections across different species to gather information. It was dangerous work, pushing the boundaries of Zira's comfort zone and testing the limits of Alex's diplomatic skills. As they delved deeper into the conspiracy, they uncovered a web of fear, misunderstanding, and manipulation that stretched across multiple species. The plot, it seemed, was not just about removing humans from the station. It was about maintaining the status quo, preventing the cultural exchange that threatened to upend centuries of tradition. Their investigation led them to a secret meeting of the conspiracy's leaders. Hidden in the shadows of a rarely used maintenance tunnel, Zira and Alex listened as representatives from various species discussed their plans to drive humans from the station. "We must act now, before their influence spreads further," a gravelly voice insisted. Zira recognized it as belonging to a high-ranking Xalian official. "Agreed," came the melodic tones of a Lumina elder. To Zira's shock, it was Vexina. "These humans are a plague upon our orderly existence. Their chaotic nature threatens everything we have built." As Zira and Alex listened, hearts pounding, the conspirators outlined their plan. They intended to sabotage key systems in the human quarter, making it appear as though human technology was incompatible with the station's infrastructure. This, they hoped, would force the station's council to reconsider the human presence on Nexus. Unable to stay silent any longer, Zira stepped forward, her luminous eyes blazing with a newfound courage. "You are wrong," she declared, her voice ringing through the tunnel. "Humans are not a threat to us. They are an opportunity to grow, to learn, to become more than we are." The conspirators whirled to face her, shock and anger etched on their alien features. Alex emerged from the shadows to stand beside Zira, his presence a solid comfort at her side. "Look at us," Alex said, gesturing between himself and Zira. "Different species, different backgrounds, but united in purpose. This is the future, not isolation, not fear, but collaboration and mutual understanding." For a tense moment, it seemed as though violence might erupt. But then, slowly, the anger in the room began to fade, replaced by confusion and, in some faces, a glimmer of hope. As Zira and Alex stood their ground, they knew that this confrontation was just the beginning. The road to true interspecies cooperation would be long and fraught with challenges. But in that moment, facing down those who would cling to the old ways, they felt the first stirrings of real change. The cultural clash that had been brewing on Starbase Nexus was far from over, but a new path forward had been revealed, one that embraced diversity, celebrated differences, and looked to the stars not with fear, but with hope and wonder. Little did they know, this pivotal moment would soon be overshadowed by a crisis that would test the very foundations of their fledgling alliance. As alarms began to blare throughout the station, Zira and Alex exchanged a worried glance. Their next challenge was about to begin, and the fate of Starbase Nexus hung in the balance. Cosmic Convergence Crisis. The piercing wail of alarms shattered the tense silence following Zira and Alex's confrontation with the conspirators. Red emergency lights bathed the maintenance tunnel in an eerie glow, casting long shadows across the faces of those gathered. "Warning: gravitational anomaly detected. All personnel report to emergency stations immediately," the station's AA announced, its usually calm voice tinged with urgency. Zira's antennae quivered with alarm. "This is not a drill," she said, her melodious voice tight with concern. "Something is very wrong." Alex nodded grimly. "We need to get to the command center, now." As they raced through the corridors, the station shuddered violently. Crew members of all species stumbled, clinging to walls and each other for support. The previous tensions between races seemed to evaporate in the face of this new, shared threat. Upon reaching the command center, they found it in chaos. Holographic displays flickered with alarming data, showing a massive spatial distortion approaching the station at an impossible speed. Captain Jorax, a veteran Andronian with 4 arms and iridescent scales, barked orders to his multi-species crew. He turned as Zira and Alex entered, his compound eyes narrowing. "What are you two doing here?" he demanded. "Sir," Alex stepped forward, "we have crucial information about a plot against a station. But more importantly, I think I might know what that is." He pointed to the swirling vortex on the main view screen. Captain Jorax hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Speak quickly, human." Alex took a deep breath. "It's a quantum fissure, a tear in the fabric of space-time. My team was researching them, but we never thought we'd encounter one this large or unstable." Zira's eyes widened. "The new human quantum drive," she whispered. "Could it have caused this?" Alex nodded grimly. "It's possible. Our tests must have weakened the barriers between dimensions more than we realized." The captain's scales rippled with concern. "Can it be stopped?" "Theoretically, yes," Alex said, "but it would require precise manipulation of the station's deflector array and a massive power surge to seal the rift." "Impossible," the Tsalian chief engineer interjected. "Our systems were never designed for such an output. We'd burn out every power relay on the station." Zira stepped forward, her luminous eyes bright with sudden inspiration. "Not if we use the bioluminescent algae from a hydroponics bay," she said. "Their photosynthetic properties could amplify the power output without overloading our systems." The room fell silent, all eyes turning to the unassuming Lumina maintenance worker who had just proposed a solution but had eluded the station's top minds. Captain Jorax's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "It's risky, but it might be our only chance. Make it happen." What followed was a frenzied race against time. Zira coordinated with the hydroponics team to harvest the alga, while Alex worked with the engineering crew to modify the deflector array. Species that had been at odds just hours before now worked in perfect harmony, driven by the common goal of survival. As they worked, the quantum fissure grew larger, its swirling energies beginning to tear at the station's outer hull. The very fabric of reality seemed to warp around them, with crew members reporting strange visions and time distortions throughout the station. In the midst of the chaos, Zira found herself face to face with Vexina, her former supervisor and one of the conspirators she had confronted earlier. "Why are you helping them?" Vexina hissed, her antennae quivering with a mix of fear and anger. "This is our chance to be rid of the humans and their dangerous ideas." Zira stood tall, her voice steady. "Because this is bigger than our differences. Look around you, Vexina. We're all in this together. Human ingenuity and our Lumina wisdom, that's what will save us. Not fear, not isolation." Before Vexina could respond, another violent tremor shook the station. A nearby console exploded in a shower of sparks, and without thinking, Zira pushed Vexina out of harm's way. The older Lumina stared at her in shock, a flicker of understanding passing between them. In the command center, Alex was putting the finishing touches on the modified deflector array. "We're ready," he called out. "But we'll need every ounce of power the station can generate." Captain Jorax nodded grimly. "Divert all power to the deflector array. Life support, artificial gravity, everything. We'll have one shot at this." As the station's lights dimmed and the artificial gravity fluctuated, Zira joined Alex at the main control panel. Their eyes met, a wordless exchange of trust and determination passing between them. "Together?" Alex asked, his hand hovering over the activation switch. Zira nodded, placing her three-fingered hand next to his. Together, they pressed the switch in unison, and a blinding beam of energy erupted from the station, infused with the bioluminescent glow of the algae. It struck the heart of the quantum fissure, which writhed and pulsed like a living thing. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a silent explosion of light and energy, the fissure began to close. Reality itself seemed to bend and flex around them, and for a brief instant, Zira thought she caught glimpses of other versions of herself and Alex, different paths their lives might have taken in other universes. As quickly as it had begun, it was over. The fissure sealed with a final flash of light, leaving behind only the star-studded backdrop of normal space. A cheer went up throughout the station as systems came back online and the immediate danger passed. But for Zira and Alex, standing amidst the celebration, there was a sense that something profound had changed. "We did it," Alex said softly, his eyes shining with a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Zira nodded, a new confidence in her posture. "We did. All of us together." As the crew of Starbase Nexus began the process of repairing the damage and making sense of what had happened, there was a palpable shift in the air. The shared experience of facing cosmic annihilation had broken down barriers between species in a way that no cultural exchange program ever could. Zira looked around the command center, seeing humans, Lumina, Xalians, and a dozen other species working side by side, no longer divided by their differences, but united by their shared triumph over the impossible. She turned to Alex, a new determination in her luminous eyes. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" she asked. Alex grinned, the excitement of new possibilities shining in his face. "Oh, absolutely. I think we've just opened up a whole new frontier of science and cooperation. The question is, are you ready to explore it with me?" Zira's antennae quivered with anticipation. "I believe I am," she said, her melodious voice filled with wonder. "After all, we've already touched the fabric of the universe itself. What's next can only be extraordinary." As they stood together, gazing out at the stars that held so many new mysteries to unravel, Zira and Alex knew that their journey, and that of Starbase Nexus, was only just beginning. The cosmic convergence crisis had changed everything, opening up new paths of discovery and unity that would reshape the very future of interstellar relations. Little did they know, their greatest challenges and most incredible discoveries still lay ahead, waiting to be unveiled in the vast, infinite tapestry of the cosmos. Quantum entanglement of hearts and minds. In the weeks following the cosmic convergence crisis, Starbase Nexus buzzed with a new energy. The near destruction of the station had catalyzed a revolutionary shift in interspecies relations. Where once there were rigid boundaries and mistrust, now there was a growing spirit of collaboration and shared purpose. At the heart of this transformation was Zira and Alex, whose unlikely partnership had become a symbol of the station's new ethos. Their combined efforts during the crisis had not only saved Starbase Nexus, but had also opened up entirely new fields of scientific inquiry. "Zira, come look at this," Alex called out excitedly one day, his eyes glued to a holographic display in their newly established joint laboratory. The room was a fascinating blend of human ingenuity and lumen efficiency, with cutting-edge Earth technology seamlessly integrated with the organic, bioluminescent interfaces favored by Zira's people. Zira glided over, her luminous eyes widening as she took in the data. "Is that quantum entanglement between organic and inorganic matter?" she asked, her melodious voice tinged with awe. Alex nodded, grinning broadly. "Exactly. Remember how your bioluminescent algae amplified our deflector array? Well, it seems the interaction created a stable quantum link between the organic compounds and our technology. The implications are staggering." As they pored over the data together, their excitement was palpable. This discovery had the potential to revolutionize everything from communications to energy production to space travel itself. But their breakthrough was not without controversy. Conservative factions among both humans and aliens viewed this melding of organic and technological systems with suspicion and fear. Rumors began to circulate about the dangers of playing God and the potential for losing one's identity in the pursuit of progress. Beautiful, Zira finished, her voice barely above a whisper. As they stood there, still reeling from the intensity of their connection, alarms began to blare throughout the station. The holographic displays in their lab flickered to life, showing a massive energy surge emanating from the site of the former quantum fissure. Their eyes met, a mix of excitement and trepidation reflected in both their gazes. Whatever was happening, they knew it would change everything once again. The next chapter of their journey was about to unfold, and this time, they would face it not just as partners, but as two beings whose destinies had become irrevocably intertwined. As they raced towards the command center, hand in hand, Zira and Alex knew that the true test of their newfound connection and the future of interspecies relations was only just beginning. Singularity synchronicity. The command center of Starbase Nexus was a maelstrom of activity as Zira and Alex burst through the doors. Holographic displays pulsed with alarming data, showing a rapidly expanding energy field at the site of the former quantum fissure. Captain Jorax's scales shimmered with tension as he barked orders to his multi-species crew. "Report," he demanded as Zira and Alex approached. "Sir," Alex began, his mind racing to process the information before them, "it appears our quantum entanglement experiments have triggered a cascading reaction in subspace. The barrier between dimensions is becoming increasingly unstable." Zira's antennae quivered as she studied the readings. "It's not just unstable," she added, her melodious voice tight with concern. "It's evolving. The energy patterns are shifting in ways I've never seen before." As if in response to her words, the main view screen erupted with a dazzling display of light and color. The fabric of space itself seemed to ripple and fold, revealing glimpses of other realities bleeding through the weakening dimensional barriers. "By the cosmic egg," Captain Jorax whispered, his compound eyes wide with awe and fear. "What have we done?" Before anyone could respond, a blinding flash of light filled the command center. When it faded, the crew found themselves face to face with something utterly unprecedented. Floating before them was a being of pure energy, its form constantly shifting and reshaping itself. It pulsed with colors beyond the visible spectrum, and tendrils of light reached out to touch the minds of everyone present. "Greetings, beings of matter," a voice echoed in their heads, somehow conveying a sense of ancient wisdom and childlike curiosity simultaneously. "We are the Continuum, guardians of the multiverse. Your experiments have drawn our attention." A hush fell over the command center as the implications of this contact sank in. They weren't just dealing with a scientific anomaly anymore. They were facing a transdimensional entity beyond their comprehension. Alex stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overriding his initial shock. "We meant no harm," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We were only trying to understand the nature of our universe." The being's light pulsed in what might have been amusement. "Understanding. You have barely scratched the surface of existence. Your quantum entanglement is but a pale shadow of the true interconnectedness of all things." Zira moved to stand beside Alex, her luminous eyes fixed on the ethereal entity. "Then teach us," she said, her melodious voice filled with a mixture of humility and determination. "We are ready to learn." The Continuum's form shimmered, tendrils of energy reaching out to caress Zira and Alex's minds. "Curious," it mused. "You two have already begun to transcend the limitations of your individual species. Perhaps you are more prepared than we initially thought." Suddenly, the entire station shuddered violently. Alarms blared as systems began to overload, unable to cope with the massive influx of transdimensional energy. "The dimensional barriers are collapsing," the Tsalian chief engineer cried out. "If we don't stabilize them, the entire station will be torn apart." The Continuum's light dimmed slightly. "The fault lies with us," it admitted. "Our presence in your reality is causing unforeseen consequences. We must retreat, but in doing so, we risk destroying this nexus of potential. Alex's mind raced, processing the problem from multiple angles. Wait, he exclaimed. What if we could use the quantum link Zira and I established to create a buffer? A sort of dimensional anchor. Zira's antennae perked up as she caught onto Alex's train of thought. Yes, we could use our hybrid consciousness as a bridge between realities, stabilizing the dimensional flux. The continuum pulsed with interest. A novel approach, but it would require a level of synchronicity beyond anything you have yet achieved. The risks to your individual identities would be significant. Zira and Alex exchanged a long look, volumes of unspoken communication passing between them in an instant. They had come too far, learned too much, to turn back now. We're willing to take that risk, they said in unison, their voices blending in perfect harmony. With a gesture from Captain Jorax, the crew sprang into action. As Zira and Alex were connected to the station's main computer core, the continuum enveloped them in a cocoon of pure energy. What followed was an experience beyond description. Zira and Alex's minds expanded exponentially, their consciousness stretching across multiple dimensions simultaneously. They saw the intricate web of reality, the infinite possibilities branching out from every moment. Through it all, they clung to each other, their shared identity serving as an anchor in the sea of infinite potential. They became aware of alternate versions of themselves, Zira as a renowned scientist, Alex as a diplomatic leader, the two of them as artists, explorers, and 1,000 other permutations. As their hybrid consciousness stabilized the dimensional rift, they felt the fabric of reality begin to heal. The continuum's energy merged with theirs, guiding them through the process of repairing the damage their experiments had caused. In the physical world, the crew of Starbase Nexus watched in awe as Zira and Alex's bodies began to glow with an inner light. The station's systems, on the brink of collapse moments before, suddenly surged with newfound power and stability. When it was over, the continuum's form coalesced into a shimmering sphere. "You have done well," it communicated, its mental voice filled with approval. "Your willingness to transcend your limitations, to risk everything in pursuit of knowledge and unity, has proven that your species are ready for the next stage of cosmic evolution." As the transdimensional being prepared to depart, it left Zira and Alex with a final gift: access to a fraction of its vast knowledge and a standing invitation to explore the multiverse when they were ready. In the aftermath of this extraordinary event, Starbase Nexus found itself at the center of a galactic renaissance. The breakthrough in dimensional stability, coupled with the advanced knowledge shared by the continuum, ushered in an era of unprecedented scientific and cultural exchange. Zira and Alex, forever changed by their experience, became the foremost experts in this new field of multidimensional studies. Their unique bond, strengthened by their shared cosmic journey, served as a beacon of hope for interspecies collaboration throughout the galaxy. As they stood together on the observation deck, watching ships from a dozen different worlds dock at the now famous Starbase Nexus, Zira turned to Alex with a smile that seemed to hold the wisdom of universes. "You know," she said, her melodious voice tinged with humor, "when I first saw you in that shower all those months ago, I never imagined we'd end up here." Alex laughed, pulling her close. "Just goes to show," he replied, his eyes twinkling with the light of distant stars. "In an infinite multiverse, anything is possible, especially when you're willing to reach out and touch it." As they shared a kiss that seemed to resonate across dimensions, Zira and Alex knew that their greatest adventures were still to come. The cosmos, in all its infinite wonder, was waiting for them to explore, one quantum leap at a time.